Can you hear me, ma? Please respond. Okay, we'll wait for another 2-3 minutes and then start the class, ma. Are you able to see my screen, ma? The PPT. Yes. Are you the PPT, ma? Okay. So before we actually start the class, I'd like to ask you a few questions, Ma. Uh, you can share it on the chat. Okay. Now, what are the different components of structure of DBMS? Different components of structure of DBMS. What are the major components of structure of DBMS? Can you hear me? No response. Surya Teja, storage manager, query processor. Any others in the class, ma? Yes. Can you brief about the components of a storage manager? Components of storage manager. Vishal, Abhinav, 22. Yes. Okay. Is it like you are able to understand what is being covered, ma? Please try to be clear before we actually go to the next topic. Or is there any difficulty you're facing? Could you please chat and file buffer? Okay. So what are the different kinds of users that interact with the database management system? Different kinds of users that interact with the DBMS. Indices, is it right, ma? 568? Is indices a part of storage manager? Yes. Where does indices come? 568? Ma, everyone has to be actively participating. Maybe, if at all, I am asking you some questions. I see only 6 to 7 students who do that regularly. That's it. Okay, are the topics covered clear, all of you? Are the topics clear, ma? Whatever we have covered until now? Please respond. Yes. Not getting any responses today. Jagdish, yes, sir. So only one is in the class. What about the others? Abhinav, Anil, okay. Now I just want you to give me the list of different kinds of users. I just want you people to give the list of different kinds of users. Sophisticated, Navy, fine. Okay, good. Next. The most important user you have missed out. What is that? What is the most DBA? Good, good. Okay. Now, can you tell me what does a sophisticated user do? What does a sophisticated user do? Uses query tools. Good. Why he uses query tools? Seven and why he uses query tools, ma? To retrieve and update data. Good. Good to interact with the database. Fine, fine. Now, what is the use of statistical data? What is the use of statistical data? You can see the diagram over there, ma. The diagram is there, and you can see something called statistical data in disk storage. And one of you have written that indices is a part of storage manager. So it's a part of disk storage. Okay, try to remember that it's a part of disk storage. Okay, so I'll just brief about the storage, sorry, not the storage, the structure of DBMS. So the major components of the database system are divided into two categories. The first one is storage manager, the other one is query processor. So each which okay, and you have a set of users by name Navy, application programmers, sophisticated, and the DBA who use certain interfaces in order to work with the DBMS. So Navy users uses application interface, application programmers write application programs, sophisticated users work with DML, the person who is responsible for the complete working of your DBMS. So he is the main person who sees every functionality of your database. He uses certain administrator tools. Okay. And next, at the bottom of this, you have got something called as query processor, where the query is evaluated and the data is fetched from the storage manager, which in turn takes data from the disk storage. And this process gives the output to the users according to their requirements. This process gives the output to the users according to their requirements. And already I've shared the PPT for you, wherein I've briefed about each and every functionality of comes in with respect to. Now, next, going to today's topic, I told you I'll be covering the concept of query processor today. I'll be covering the concept of query processor. Okay, now the diagram is shown to you. So these are the components of your query processor, and the major task of query processor would be the input would be a high level language query. The input would be a high level language query, which would be translated into low level language and processed with respect to a result. So you're taking an input as a query and you're producing an output as what is required by the customer, or whatever the query requested for, that would be given as an output. Now you have query as an input, followed by parser and translator, relational algebraic expression. You've got something called as relational algebraic expression. Then you have an optimizer, execution plan, evaluation engine, and the output would be produced from evaluation engine. Then you have certain kind of data. This is the data, and you have stats about data. So these are the components of your query processor, and what I'm trying to do with respect to a query processor is convert a high level query. So example, select name from student. Taking a query called select name from student. So name is the attribute which I want to display from a table called student. That is a high level language query, which might be written in SQL. Already I told you SQL stands for structured query language. That is converted into a low level language. So high level query is converted into a low level language. And the basic or the most important steps in query processing are parsing and translation. Parsing and translation. The other one is optimization, and the last one, evaluation. So these are the most important. One, optimization, evaluation. Try to understand the process, it's quite simple. I've already told you are writing the query in a high level language. So the query is given in high level language. And the job of parsing and translation is translate the query into internal form. Translates the query into its internal form, and then this is translated into relational algebra. So what I'm trying to do over here is, here I am submitting a query which is usually in high level language, and then this process and translator converts the query into its internal form, maybe certain symbolic representation or low level representation, and then it is translated into equivalent relational algebraic form. So the query here is parsed and translated into equivalent relational algebraic expression. Okay. Now next, what is the job of a parser is, it checks for the syntax. Parser's job is, it checks for the syntax, whether the syntax is according to the rules. So if at all I say select, I'll work with a small example. I'll just say what actually it does. Select star from EMPLO. Entered by the user. Select star from employee. So what it does is, whatever the information that is present in the table would be displayed as an output. Whatever the information is stored in the employee table would be displayed. Now, so this is a perfect example of a query. Okay, now what would be the job of the parser would be, if at all I'm trying to remove the semicolon. I'm trying to remove the semicolon. So there is, now the job of parser would be to check these kinds of errors. Since each one of us knows that every SQL statement ends with a semicolon. If at all semicolon is missing, it gives you an error. And one more example I can say is, instead of writing SELECT, I'll just go with select SELET. So this is also your job. So it checks for the syntax and it verifies relations. Okay. Now, translator. So that is nothing but, here it is relational algebraic form. So the translator is trying to transform query into an equivalent algebraic form. And once I talk about relational algebra with respect to a query, for a single query, we might have n number of equivalent relational algebraic solutions. Meaning, I can write a query in different ways. The same query which produces the same output can be in different ways. Which will again provide me the same result. That is a concept over here. Okay. Okay, now, as an example, to understand the steps now, I've taken a small query. The query is select salary from employee where salary greater than 10,000. So what I'm trying to do with respect to this query is, I want to display salaries of employees whose salary is greater than 10,000. So maybe I've got an employee table. I've got an employee table wherein I've got n number of fields or attributes. Employee table has got n number of attributes, but I'm only interested in displaying the salaries of employee whose salary is greater than 10,000. Whose salary is greater than 10,000. Okay. And in order to make the system understand this high level language, it needs to be translated into the internal form, which is nothing but your relational algebraic form. So what the job of the translator would be, this particular query which is highlighted, needs to be translated into equivalent relational algebraic form. And we can bring this query into relational algebra form as follows. Try to understand these two. So these two relational algebraic expressions gives you the same output for this particular select statement. Is it clear, ma? Are you able to understand? Is it audible? Are you able to understand? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Right, ma. Please mute, ma. Okay, now see. I'm working with some symbolic representation over here, ma. I'm just increasing the font. Okay, now see. There's something called as sigma and pi operator. Relational algebra you'll be having in the second unit. But in order to understand query processing, you have to understand these two basic things over here as of now. Okay. So I'm using a symbol called sigma and a symbol called pi. I hope you can see, ma. The first symbol is sigma, which is highlighted, and the next symbol is pi. Okay. Now try to understand. Sigma stands for select and pi stands for project. Sigma stands for select, pi stands for project. So in relational algebraic form, sigma is for select, is for 1 second. Okay. So try to understand the first query over here. Sigma salary greater than 10,000. So I want to select the salary whose salary from an employee table whose salary is greater than 10,000. So select, that's nothing but sigma over here, sigma salary greater than 1,000, and you have an internal query over here which says project salary from employee. Project salary from employee. Now, what would be the working of this particular query? So, whenever I use a project operation, it will display only certain columns which are actually asked or requested. Now, if at all I say in the employee table, the schema of employee table is like this. Employee is the name of the table. I have e-name, e-number, salary, date of birth, date of joining, and department. So this is the schema definition of your employee table. Now, my query is only interested in getting the salaries. Okay. Now what I'm trying to do over here is project salary. So what will happen from this particular employee table, only the salary attribute would be displayed as result. Only the salary attribute. Now, if at all I want to display name, employee number also, what I can do is I can say project salary, comma, e-number, comma, e-name. But here I'm only interested in employee salary. So project salary from employee table. Now this will give me a list of all the salaries of all the employees. And that particular list, I have to select only the salary whose value is greater than 10,000. Is it clear, ma? I have to select only the salary whose salary is greater than 10,000. Is it clear? Yes, any questions you have with respect to that particular relational algebraic form? Yes, ma'am. Is it clear? Okay. Now, what I am doing with respect to the second query. So, project salary, and from where I am projecting that particular salary, I'm trying to select all the list of attributes from the employee table whose salary is greater than 10,000. Now, what I'm trying to do in the second query is, in the second query, first, I'm displaying the details of employees whose salary is greater than 10,000. That is nothing but sigma salary greater than 10,000 from the employee table. So what would be the output of this particular inner query would be, it would display all the list of employees. It will display e-name, e-number, salary, DOB, DOJ, and department whose salary is greater than 10,000. And from that particular relation, I am interested in projecting the salary only. So from this particular relation, whichever is highlighted, I am interested in selecting only salary. So for a single query, I might be having alternative approaches with respect to your relational algebraic form. Right. Now, since we have got two algebraic expressions, the next job would be this particular relations would be passed on to the optimizer. This particular relations would be passed on to the optimizer. So the next step after I get the relational algebraic expressions, it would be passed on to the optimizer. Now the role of optimizer would be, it has to select the best query. Okay, if at all I've got n number of queries for a single query, then what would be the job of optimizer would be it has to optimize the solutions in order to get the best query. So maybe it might be cost efficient, it might be taking less time, it might be giving you accurate results. So every query gives you accurate results, but it must be cost effective and it must be taking less time for execution. That is the job of your optimizer. Okay, that is the job of your optimizer. And how that thing is, it is using the concept of stats about data. Or indirectly, I can say that stats about data would be helping the optimizer for evaluating the best query. So that is what was clearly mentioned in the diagram. Is it clear? So see, stats about data is connected to optimizer, and optimizer is also connected to relational algebraic expression. So here I've got two expressions that would be optimized by the optimizer with the help of statistics about data. So relational algebraic expression are sending the expressions which would be optimized using stats about data. And the best query would be sent to the next level, which is nothing but your execution plan. Okay, now the execution plan will send the algebraic expression to the next level in form of a tree, which is nothing but your query tree. The execution plan will send the optimized algebraic expression in the form of a tree to the next level. Okay, and that tree would be try to understand this. Okay, now see, I'm just taking an example over here, ma. So this is the name of the table. Interested in finding out the employee ID of a particular employee whose name is Arun Kumar. Okay, so the bottommost level is your employee table. This is an object over here, employee, followed by select the details with respect to Arun Kumar. I can say that select star from employee where name is equal to Arun Kumar. And that particular in its equivalent relational form would be this way. And select ename is equal to Arun Kumar from employee table. And once I select name is equal to Arun Kumar, this is your tree, which is created by the next level after you work with optimizer. That's nothing but your execution plan. And once the tree has been generated, the evaluation engine evaluates that particular query using the data, whatever data is required for executing that particular query is used with respect to the evaluation engine, and the output is provided to the user. So this is the concept of your query processor, or I can say the working of the processor. If at all you have any question, our tree over here, parsing and translation, optimization, evaluation. And you should understand the basics of your relational algebraic expression. Just I've taken only two symbols over here. So I've just taken a small query in order to explain you the concept. Okay, does parsing and translation, optimization and evaluation. Then I told you what is a process and what is the major thing. The major thing is query is in high level language, which is translated into low level language. Using parsing and translation, then the query is converted into relational algebraic form and optimized in order to get the best relational algebraic expression using the stats about data. Then it is converted into a tree. It is converted into a tree, and that tree is passed into the next level, which is the next level is your evaluation engine, which takes the required data and executes the query in order to provide you the requested output. So this is the process of your query processor, ma. You have any questions, you can put it on the chat box, ma. Just go through the diagram for 2 minutes. All of you go through the diagram for 2 minutes. You can see the PPT, ma. Is it clear? Now, moving to the next topic, ma. It is database design using database design and ER model. So you're using the concept of ER model over here. We'll be describing or dealing with ER model in a more open way here. Okay. I told you when I was talking about data models in your database management systems, about this ER model. So what an ER model is, what are the different components of ER model, and we'll try to go into this deeply. Okay. We'll try to go into this deeply. Now, so a good database design starts with list data that you want to with the database. So before you actually start designing a database, you have to have a good understanding. You have to have a good understanding of what data you want to include. You have to have a good understanding of what data you want to include in your database. Maybe you can say that you have to have a knowledge of all the constraints, all the conditions of what data you want to store into your database, along with what you want to do with that. want to do with that particular data, maybe in the later stages. What you want to do with that particular data in the later stages. And one of the most important tools for your database design, we usually say conceptual design, because working on a conceptual or sometimes we say ER diagram. And in order to make it simple, ER diagram stands for Entity Relationship Diagram, which is also known as your ERD. It's also known as your ERD. And the major components or the basic components of your ER model are entities, attributes, and relationships. Already, I told you this. The major components are entities, attributes, and relationships. Okay. So these are the major components of your ER model. Now, why we use the concept of ER diagrams? Why we use the concept of ER diagrams is because the first and foremost advantage of using an ER model is it helps us to describe the entities, attributes, and relationships. So sometimes what happens is you are given a certain scenario. In order to develop or work with your database systems, you're given with a scenario. So the first job would be you have to analyze what are the entities, what would be the properties of those entities, and what are the relationships that are existing between the entities in the given scenario. So you can do it using the concept of your ER model. And the model. These ER models are transferable into relational model, which is nothing but your tables. I told you this when I was working with data models. So relational tables, which allows you to build databases quickly. Okay, so these are the major uses of your ER models, the major uses of your ER models, right? And basic symbols that are used in your ER model. The basic symbols that are used in your ER model are, first one is rectangle. Already you know this. A rectangle is used to represent an entity. And whenever you're talking about an entity with respect to ER diagram, you have different kinds of entities. One is a strong entity and the other one is a weak entity. We'll talk about this in the next classes to come. So different types of entities are there which are represented by rectangles. The first one is weak entity and the other one is a strong entity. Now you have got something called as ellipse symbol, which is to represent attributes, which are nothing but the properties of an entity. So ellipses are the symbols that are used in attributes, which are nothing but the properties of entities. Next, you have something called as a diamond. This is used to represent relationships. So what are the different kinds of relationships that are existing between entities is represented by relation, which is represented using a symbol diamond, which is represented using a symbol diamond. Okay, then you have lines, which is used to attributes to entities and entities to relationships. Already we have worked with an example on this in the previous classes. So lines are used to link attributes to entities and entities to other relationships. Maybe I'm trying to have two entities in relationship. I say that I want to have two entities in relationship. Then we use the concept of lines in order to put that relationship with respect to two entities. Then we have the concept of keys in your database management systems. In your database management systems, we have keys. In order to represent a primary key is one of the keys. Don't worry, we'll be talking about different kinds of keys. You've got kinds of keys over here. So you have a candidate key, you have a primary key, you have a foreign key, composite key. So we'll be discussing about all that stuff in the coming classes. Now, whenever you want to represent a primary key attribute, so primary key attribute is something which cannot be repetitive and which cannot be null. So whenever you say that a particular value of a column should not get repeated, then you are going to use the concept of a primary key on that particular column value. Okay, and whenever you want to represent this particular primary key value, use ER diagrams, you are going to underline attributes that are underlined. So you would be using an ellipse. In that particular ellipse, you are going to write the name of the primary key, which should be underlined. Okay. Now, there is something called as double ellipse. There's something called as a symbol called as double ellipse, which is used to represent multi-valued attributes. So whenever you say that a particular entity has got a property which has more than one value, a particular entity has got a property which has more than one value, then in order to represent, you're going to use that as a double ellipse. Okay. So whenever you're talking about ER model, with respect to the components, entities, I told you, you have got weak and strong. Then you're talking about the attributes. You have got different kinds of attributes. Already two I have described. One is a key attribute and the other is a multi-valued attribute. One is a key attribute, the other one is a multi-valued attribute. Then you have something called as what I can say derived attribute. You have got something called as a derived attribute. So that is the third one. That is the third one. So one is key attributes, the other one is valid attributes. You have composite attributes, which is a combination of more than one value. Then you have single valued attributes. Types of attributes that you are going to work with in your ER model. So before we actually work with an ER model, you have to understand all these components. So how we are trying to represent a composite attribute, how we are trying to represent a derived attribute, all that stuff you have to understand. So all the symbolic representation and how to work with or how to draw an ER model, we'll be dealing in the next class. Okay, so for today's class, I think we have worked with query processor, and I've just briefed about the storage, the structure of your DBMS. Structure of DBMS was briefed, and then database design, briefing about database design with respect to ER model we have covered. And what are the major components of your ER model? What are the major components of your ER model have been clearly discussed over here. Okay, so each one of the components, how we are going to represent a weak entity set, how we are going to represent a strong entity, and what is actually a weak entity and what is actually a strong entity. So how we are going to represent them, what are kinds of attributes, what is the meaning of each of these things and how you are going to represent. Then we'll work with small example on how you actually work with all these different kinds of components or symbols in order to form a ER model. That would be the concept. Now, before we actually work with the Quizma, I'll just go with some practicals, which is nothing. Before I actually start MySQL, I would just want you to go through the PPT for 2 minutes, and if at all you have any questions, you ask now. Any questions you can ask now, ma. PPT for 2 minutes. And did you get the PPT which was shared, ma? Please respond. Now, see, I'll just ask you a simple question. Right, ma? See, I've got a student table with 4 attributes. The first one is S name, S address, date of birth, and marks. Are you able to hear me? Student, S name, S address, DOB, and marks. And I have entered a row for that particular. Name is Ram, address is HYD, DOB is 12/9/2003, and marks he secured is 97. Now, I want you to display the age of Ram. I want you to display the age of RAM. Now, how would you write this particular query? How would you write this particular query? Can anyone try this out? This is your practical, ma? Okay. So one of your friends is telling that I can write select SH from. So this is what, right? Select age from student, select age from student where name is equal to Ram. Good. Okay, ma. Now try to understand, ma. Is there a column called age in the student table? Look at the table and try to identify, is there age column in the student table? Then how do you select that particular column by name age? So that will give you an error. The same thing I'm working with in your MySQL, ma. If at all you can see that MySQL, right? Show databases. Yeah. Okay. Now create table student with S name varchar 20 S address DOB marks. S address varchar of 20, comma, date of birth. I'm using a date field over there, and marks integer of 3. Okay, table student already exists. I'm telling it as student 1. Okay, now the table is created. Okay, the table is created. Now, select star from student 1. So it's giving you an empty set. Fine. Now, what my question was, I want to display the name of a particular person. So I'll say select age from student 1. What is the error you are getting in MySQL? What is the error you are getting? Unknown column age in the field list. Because whenever I try to describe student 1, I do not have an age column over there. I do not have an age column over there. Now, how do you get the age of that particular student is my question. I hope whatever I've executed there in MySQL was clear, ma. Try to think how you have to find the age of a student. Present date minus DOB. Good. Dharantej and Padma Surya Teja. Good. So that is what you have to do. Fine. Now, what kind of an attribute this might be? Based on your understanding of what you have written, what kind of an attribute this might be? The age would be what kind of attribute? So see, one of the solutions given by your friends is current date minus DOB would give you the age of the student. Fine. Now, what kind of attribute is that? What kind of attribute is that? Can anyone try it out? I've told you different types of attributes are there. Out of those attributes, what would be age? What kind of attribute would be age? It's not a primary key, Amma. Two students can have the same age. Derived. How can you say it is derived? $61. DOB is already given to you, 61. It's not multi-valued, ma'am. Anil, you cannot have two ages or two DOBs. So derived attributes are those attributes which can be derived from other attributes. Derived attributes are those attributes which can be derived from other attributes. So you're getting age from other attributes. That is the reason it is called as a derived attribute. Right. 61. Right, ma'am. So you have to have a clear idea of what the different kinds of attributes are existing and how you have to represent. That is the reason I've given you this small example. Now, whenever I'm talking about your name, what kind of an attribute would be that? Uh, how it can be multi? Okay, maybe you say that you will be called by different names, but whenever I'm talking about respect to student, you will be having only one name. So you cannot have multiple values. Yes or no? So you might be called differently at home with respect to your friends and maybe some other place. But whenever I'm talking logically, in your college, it would be entered in one way only. Yes or no? Yes, no. A primary key, don't go with primary key with respect to names because two students can have their same name. So all of you look over here again. So whenever I'm talking about name, whenever I talk about name of a student, F name, M name, and L name. Is it right or not? So usually whenever you're talking about name, they usually go with first name, middle name, and last name. First name, middle name, last name. Yes or no? So my name column would be a combination of all these three. My name column would be a combination of all three. My name column would be a combination of all these three. My name column would be a combination of all these three. Okay. Hence, I can say that the name can be a composite attribute. Name can be a composite attribute. And a composite attribute is one which are composed of many other simple attributes. A composite attribute is one which are composed of many other simple attributes. Now see, F name cannot be further divided, M name cannot be further divided, L name cannot be further divided. So usually I term this as simple attributes. And since my name is a combination of more than one attribute, I can say that my name is a composite attribute. My name is a composite attribute. So this way you have to analyze what are the different kinds of attributes, what are the different kinds of relationships that are existing while you're working with creation of your database design. Is it clear, ma? I've just given you one or two examples. When I'm dealing with in the next class, I'll clearly. So is it clear? Any problems, ma? Just I told you what is a derived attribute over here and what is a composite attribute. Okay. Is it clear? So any questions, ma? Any questions? Anything that you didn't understand? Now, all of you see, ma, I'm working with a customer team. Okay, now we'll work with few of the keywords with respect to your practicals. Okay, now I just want to display customer ID from customer table. What way I can do that? I'm interested in displaying customer ID from customer table. How do I write the query? Whether I have to use insert, whether I have to use delete, whether I have to use update or select. What is the keyword I have to use in order to display the customer IDs? Please respond. This is only your practicals, ma. Select customer ID from customer name. Ma'am, Anil, both are attributes, ma. Right. So select, instead of star over here, customer underscore ID from customer. So see, this is whenever you are interested in selecting only particular columns from a table. Okay, this is whenever you are interested in getting particular columns from a table. So select customer underscore ID from customers. Now, I want to display the details of all customer IDs, all customers whose ID is greater than 2. I want to display the details of all customers whose ID is greater than 2. What I should do? I want to display the details of all customers whose ID is greater than 2. Yes. What is the query I have to write in order to get that details? So select star from customers where customer ID is greater than 2. So this is what you are writing, right? Now, did I get the output? I got the details of all the customers whose ID is greater than 2. Whose ID is greater than 2. Now, the same query, if at all I am writing in the reverse way, whose ID is less than 2, I'll get only one row. Or here I can say, I can put equal to 2. Right. So this is quite simple. Once you understand the syntax and semantics of the language, you can easily work with queries. Just you have to put some time, put some effort so that you can easily work with the queries. Okay. Now, what if I want to delete the details of customers with ID 1? What if I want to delete the customers with ID 1? Drop will drop the complete table, Rohit. So what kind of statement you have to use over here? Is it DDL or DML? First try to answer that. Is it DDL, DML? DML, good, good. Now, I have to use a keyword called drop is not present in DML, right? Delete, fine. Now, how do I write that query? How do I write that query? How do I write that query? Already I've given the syntax for you. Already I've given the syntax for you. Delete from customer where customer, good. What is the problem over here? I'm getting an error. So whatever Anil has typed, I have typed over here. See, Amma, when I was talking about different kinds of attributes, I told you there is a concept of key attributes. So in this particular table, I have taken customer ID as a primary key attribute. And I have linked two tables. I have linked two tables with respect to customer ID. That is the reason I am not able to remove this particular customer ID. Since it has been, I cannot delete this. So that is one more use of having your primary key. Okay, so if at all you work with some other table, this particular delete statement would work fine. So I'll see show tables. I've got something called as N. Okay. We have written a query delete from T1 where j is equal to 1. Entering this. Query OK, one row affected. So how many matches are there with respect to j equal to 1? Only one. So the particular row has been deleted. Now if at all I say select star from T1, I'll be having only one row. Now if at all I again perform a delete operation, j is equal to 11. Again, query OK, one row affected. And if at all I select star from T1, there's nothing. Because initially it had only two rows. One row with respect to j is equal to 1 was deleted. One row with respect to j is equal to 11 is deleted. Okay, so this is a briefing about your select and delete statements. Above query. Are met. If at all both the condition, it's a complex condition you have taken. So delete from customer where customer ID is equal to 1 and customer name is equal to ADAN will work. But the problem with the customers table over there was the customer ID is taken as a primary key and related that customer table to another table. That is the only reason it is not getting deleted. Is it clear, Anil? Is it clear? You can have any kind of condition. How you work with your logical operators in your C programming, Java, C++, the same way you can work with. I'm just working with small queries over here. Is it fine, Anil? You can remove, but the problem is here I have related tables. I have related tables, Anil. So two or more tables are related with respect to the attributes. Two or more tables are related with respect to the key attributes. Okay, now I'll start the quiz. The quiz is a combination of maybe all the topics that have been covered. So try to answer that.